Alright all, and welcome back to another video and the Day 4 preview of the Punchestown Festival for 2021. We are here on Thursday evening. We have just watched the final race. It is 10 to 8 as we record this video. Hopefully it'll be up at around half past 8. And hopefully any of you guys had a decent enough punting day. I found it very difficult myself. Willie Mullins has banged in another 5-timer. Not even sometimes with his first string. It was difficult at times. Look, we had Gaillard who did win at 5-2 for Willie, and we had a few places in there. And we had Max Flamingo and Ronald Pump running very game races in defeat, but no match for their opposition. Bit of a blow. We took a hit of around 5 points, I'd say. Overall, still up on the week. Thanks solely really to Foxy Jacks, but we've had two losing days and one big winning day, so we're probably 1-2 after 3 here. But hopefully, to be honest, if you offered me even money for the next 2 days, I'd probably bite your hand off right now. Punchestown can always be tough, and I'm finding it very tough here myself to get to the bottom of some of these races. And some of these trainers that don't look in great form, I must confess, and I'm dubious now tomorrow, looking at Henry's horses, looking at Gavin Cromwell's horses, Denise Foster's horses. They aren't running great. There's no getting away from it, and maybe they'll be able to defy that. I wouldn't be necessarily rushing to take them on, but at the same time, you do wonder with all these Willie horses whether they'll just get the job done or they'll certainly run very well and potentially above themselves, or maybe some of the other trainers' horses running a bit below themselves. Starting off with the 340, a very interesting Hunter's Chase, constricted to horses that I think I think the trainer or something has to farm within a certain area of land. It's a very, very complicated race for the Bishop's Court Cup. But I'm going to be taking Alpha Male in this for Peter Maher and Barry O'Neill at 2-1. Rewrite the Rules is odds-on favourite. I wouldn't be getting ploughed into him at odds-on, I must confess. This horse won this race at a hack canter in 2018, was second in it in 2019 in its last renewal, seems to be trained with only this race in mind. As I say, it's a funny race and therefore not one of the greatest, let's be honest with ourselves. But Alpha Male has good festival form, good Punchestown Festival form, and I think at 2-1 I'll take him against the favourite. The 4:15, a competitive novices handicap chase, topping the weights and favourite. The Enigma, Asterion Forlonge at 3-1. I'll be taking him at 3-1 for Brian Cooper and Willie Mullins. He is an enigma. I do understand that, but he's running against handicappers here. And you can't get away from that. I know he's having to give £10 even to second top weight, but he's still a very good horse, and if he was to reproduce his Cheltenham effort, he surely wins this race. I know some people might think he's short, and maybe it is just because of the Mullins factor. I'm more tempted to go in on him. But that being said, as I say, this is a major step down in class, and I know he has to carry a fair bit of weight, but I think he takes an awful lot of beating in this at 3-1. I will be playing one each way, and it is actually the second top weight, but he's off a mark of only 142, Fee Duderie. I backed him in the place at Cheltenham, and he didn't jump very well. I'd hope for a bit of better jumping this time around. I'm hoping some of Joseph's run a bit better than they have been. He's another trainer that's been, the results have been questionable this week so far, but hoping for a bit of a turn in form. You can get best price 22-1 each way about him with 5 to 6 places. If he was to replicate his course and distance run behind Envoy Len, he certainly would have to have a squeak. The 450, a competitive mare's handicap chase, again going to give you 2 in this, starting off with Scarlet and Dove, and I know she's 4-1. Again, it's quite prohibitive prices for a big handicap, but she just looks a well-in mare off a mark of 140 with Jordan Gainford taking over and taking a valuable couple of pounds off her at the same time. She's ran very well this year. She's a mare I hold in very high regard. I think she'd have pushed Culreevy close at Thurles a few starts back. She won a couple of graded races before finishing 5th in the Grade 1 Novices Chase at Fairyhouse. This is a big step down. Off at mark of 140, I think she's got great possibilities at 4-1, and hopefully she can do the job for Gigginstown. And the one I'm going to play at a bigger price is Court Maid at 12-1 each way. This may be a tad tight for her, and I know she did run in the Irish Grand National, but as did Augusta Gold, who's 9-2 for this race for WP Mullins himself. This horse is for Tom Mullins, and Jack Foley takes the ride. She won the Punchestown earlier in the year. This is a significant step back in trip to 2.5 miles. But that being said, she has won over this trip before. She's a very good mare, and I know 151 potentially is a steep mark, but Jack Foley takes £7 off, which gives her possibilities, and I think at 12-1 she could outrun that price. The 525, going to keep it Pretty. The next two races are hard. Look, Henry de Bromhead's got the favourite in both of them. I love Honeysuckle. I'm converted. I've been completely converted. I used to not particularly like her that much. She was super in the Champion Hurdle. I thought she was the best winner of the festival, actually. But I'm not going to back her at 4-7. And with the way that de Bromhead's horses are running, I'd be dubious about backing any of his horses at 4-7, even though she may well win. And the play I'm going to do, because I was thinking earlier in the week I was going to end up trying to go for a forecast of Honeysuckle to beat Sharjah, like I did in the Champion Hurdle. But instead, I'm just going to back Sharjah each way in this race at 11-1. I think he's a little bit overpriced at 11-1. I don't see why he is that price. He has to beat the likes of Epatante, Abacadabras. These are horses he's beaten before. And I think he certainly could fill the frame. And if he comes second or third, we get a nice little profit on it. I'm going to leave Honeysuckle. That being said, if she was to win, I would absolutely love it. Same comments really apply with Bob Ollinger, who's 4-7 as well. Big Bob, a horse that again was maybe a little bit slow to convert to. But you couldn't have not converted to him after winning the Ballymore as impressively as he did. That being said, again, just not going to back him at 4-7. I don't back horses at 4-7 in the first place, let alone for horses from a trainer that you're a little bit sceptical of the form. And I thought this in Aintree, to be honest, and I'll hold my hands up, I did. I thought Henry's horses were out of nick at Aintree, and then he had a 1-2 in the Grand National. So just shows you sometimes good horses can defy maybe a few other horses in the yard not running so great. But instead, I am going to take him on, and I'm going to take him on with Gaillard du Mesnil at 7-2. Look, Paul Townend, I think, only has one ride on the card tomorrow, and he's picked this horse. And he had two rides on the card today, and has had two winners. Now, in Ergamine, to be fair, I think I could have ridden, and he probably still would have won. Galois did it very impressively as well. It's just interesting that he rides this. I don't think he's right, Paul Townend. I think he's injured. This whole him only riding one or two races a day would indicate he's not particularly right. But Gaillard du Mesnil, look, he ran a good race at Cheltenham in the Ballymore to come second. He was obviously so impressive at the Dublin Racing Festival. That form has kind of upheld itself in the 3-mile novice hurdle earlier in the week with Gentleman's Game, and Statler running quite well. I'll take him a chance at 7-2 that he might upset the apple cart. That being said, if Bob Ollinger was to win, I'll hold my hands up and admit I was completely wrong. And it's not an overly strong kind of way of trying to take him on, I suppose. The 6:35, the Fox Hunters definitely take on Billaway. I've taken on Billaway all year. And I'm going to be taking on Bob and Co. I'm afraid I've backed a few of these David Maxwell horses in the past, and God love him, he's a brilliant man. He seems to love the game, and more luck to him. And if he won, I wouldn't begrudge it one bit. But you're taking your life in your hands backing the horses that he's riding, and that's just a fact, I'm afraid. As a result, I'm going to back two each way. In this Staker Wallace at 6-1, he ran a game race for me in the Fox Hunters. Return to a slightly easier 3 miles could well suit this horse, especially on a bit of nicer ground for Derek O'Connor and Enda Bulger. I'll play him at 6-1. And the one I cannot understand, especially getting 4 places, is it came to pass at 25-1 in a few places for this race. I think it's just ludicrous. I think it's absolutely ludicrous. He ran a decent enough race, I thought, in the Fox Hunters, given he made a few early mistakes. His jumping has left a little bit to be desired of late, but Maxine O'Sullivan takes over for her dad, Eugene. She won the Fox Hunters on him last year in a hack canter at 66-1. He's gone in at big prices before. He loves this ground, and hopefully if he puts in a bit of a better jumping performance, he could go close. 7:05, Tricky Novices Hurdle. Kescon risks the favourite. The likes of MC Muldoon are in there, but I'm going to play two horses I quite like. One being Get My Drift for Mouse Morris and Mark Walsh at 9-1. Mouse did us all a favour with Foxy Jacks earlier in the week, and Get My Drift is a horse I hold in high regard. He likes this nicer ground. He won a Leopardstown Maiden over Christmas quite impressively, I believe, and he was an okay fourth in the Grade 2 race over at Fairyhouse. I don't know whether he quite stayed 2.5 miles, perfectly honest. Back to 2 miles I think will suit him. And the other horse is Elbara, and I think Elbara is an improving type of horse. Was obviously extremely highly regarded after being bought for so much money. Won a bumper at Thurles, and then was disappointing going left-handed over hurdles. I've a funny feeling that this horse really wants to go right-handed, and he won his Fairyhouse maiden hurdle at the Fairyhouse at the Easter meeting. At the time, you'd have gone so. But Peter Fahey's horse that came second in that race absolutely bounded in the big auction hurdle earlier this week. He's 14-1 Elbara here with Sean O'Keefe on board. He is down the pecking order for Willie Mullins, but we've seen already this week it doesn't necessarily have to be the stable number one that goes in, and I'll be playing him each way. The final race, the 7:35, again going to give you two at prices, just because I don't really want to back the Cromwell horse, even though he's won his point-to-point very impressively. And I don't want to back the Denise Foster horse, Gort Millish, even though, again, an awful lot's going for him. Martin Brazel's horse does intrigue me slightly, but I'm going to go for connections I love. And I've backed with not much success this week, but O'Toole ran well. I'm going to give Leitrim Chief a go here for the Crawford team at 11-1. They usually have these bumper horses fit and ready to go. All their bumper horses this week have ran well without potentially winning, and a few of them have ended up finishing 7th or 8th, and I suppose this could happen again. But that being said, they usually run their race. They're usually well forward, and I'll give him a go. And the other one I'll play is Supreme Jet for the man himself, Ollie McKiernan. If he bails me out in the lucky last, you won't hear the end of it. Johnny Barry on board for him. He ran an encouraging race at Christmas time, went fourth behind Ramillies. Ramillies is the type of horse, he just doesn't seem to find anything off the bridle, but travels very strongly on the bridle. That form of that race doesn't look a whole bit bad. He travelled into it quite nicely before getting tired late on. He was entitled to need that run, and I think he might appreciate a little bit of nicer ground and hopefully can run well for slightly smaller connections. He's 12-1. So overall, 13 horses to go to war with there. It's open racing. I will hold my hands up, and potentially for some of you guys, it's too many selections, 13 over 8 races. I understand that. But that being said, some of these are minefields, and I'm going to take 2 chances if I can get them. A few favourites in there, a few horses at bigger prices. If one of the bigger prices ones goes in, you're sorted for the day, a little bit like yesterday on Foxy Jacks. So hopefully we'll have a decent enough day. As I said, these last 2 days of Punchestown, if you offer me right now to just break even both days, I bite your hand off. So we'll have to see how we go. Anyway, if you did enjoy this video, please do give it a like, subscribe to the channel down below, and of course let me know how you got on today and what you're looking forward to tomorrow. What's going to be your nap and next best of tomorrow? And do you have any fears about these de Bromhead horses like I may do? Let me know down below, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night for the Saturday card, and I may even throw in a selection or two from the Guineas card. Until then, stay safe, stay well, land a few bets, and I'll see you guys then.